Welcome to the deep dive. You send us your sources, we pull out the key signals, basically give you the good stuff without the overwhelm.
Think of it as your shortcut to getting up to speed fast.
Exactly. And maybe having a bit of fun too. Today, we're cracking open Souren Stepanyan's book, Fail Like a Pro, 17 brutal lessons they don't teach you about cloud, code, and startup life.
Yeah, this isn't your standard, polite DevOps handbook.
No, definitely not. It's aimed squarely at you developers, you DevOps engineers. Called itself a field manual full of war stories.
Right. Real failures. Practical lessons learned the hard way, with a fair bit of sarcasm thrown in. It's not a tutorial.
So we're going to zoom in on one specific story today, one about how cloud costs can, well, sneak up on you.
The silent killer, as the book calls it. Because failure, especially in tech, it happens, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's pretty much inevitable. The real goal isn't zero failures, good luck with that. It's learning from them when they do happen.
Which is the whole point of Fail Like a Pro, really, and what we want to explore.
Okay, so this silent killer chapter, chapter 12, cloud costs the silent killer no one warns you about. It starts with that initial dream, doesn't it?
Yeah, the cloud pitch. Serverless, auto-scaling, pay-as-you-go. Sounds amazing. Sounds cheap.
Sounds easy. The dream that sometimes turns into a nightmare when the bill arrives.
Or just a really, really big surprise. The book calls out that cheap cloud idea as a lie.
Well, yeah, because those individual costs look tiny, like fractions of a cent for a function call, right?
Pennies per gigabyte month for S3, a few bucks for a managed DNS zone. It all seems negligible.
Until it isn't. These small things, they just combine.
And the book uses this as a great example, a real story about a $900 surprise bill.
Wow, $900 for what they thought was just a quiet little serverless app.
Exactly. An app just sort of ticking over, supposedly.
Yeah.
So what went wrong? How did it rack up $900?
Well, the book breaks it down. It's actually a combination of things and probably familiar pain points for many listeners.
Okay, let's hear them.
First off, someone turned on provision concurrency for a Lambda function. Ah, okay. So paying for capacity, whether it's used or not.
Right, and then they just forgot it was on. So compute power, sitting idle, but the meter's running.
Ouch. Classic. What else?
Uncapped CloudWatch logs. Just ingesting absolutely everything.
The more data is better trap. Thinking it helps debugging, but forgetting logs cost money. Serious money sometimes.
And compounded by the type of data, they were apparently storing the entire payload of every single external webhook call.
Whoa, wait, the whole payload? For every call?
Yep, just saving everything. Think of the storage costs alone, let alone ingestion.
Yeah, that would add up incredibly fast. Okay, so provision concurrency, massive logging. Anything else?
The final piece, and this is a fun one, a Lambda function stuck in a hot loop because of a logic bug.
Oh no, the infinite loop scenario, just spinning and spinning.
And scaling because the cloud dutifully gives it more resources to spin even faster, burning through compute, triggering logs, probably downstream stuff too.
Which really gets to the core problem the book highlights, right? Cloud scales usage and usage scales cost. Exactly. That amazing elasticity, the thing we love about the cloud, it works both ways. If usage spikes unexpectedly or just runs away.
Your costs run away right alongside it, instantly.
The book compares it to a casino with an open bar tab. Feels free in the moment.
Until the tab comes due. Painful analogy, but pretty accurate sometimes.
So based on this $900 fiasco and others, what are the sort of brutal lessons the book drills home about cloud bills?
Well, first and foremost, nothing is truly free, even those free tiers.
Right, they run out, often silently. Suddenly you're paying.
Yep. Lesson 2, logs are not free. CloudWatch is powerful, but it's absolutely a cost center. The book calls it a build disguised as debug tool.
Huh, I like that.
Yeah.
Very true. What else?
Provision stuff costs money even when idle. Running but unused is just waste.
That forgotten provision concurrency.
Exactly. And storage. It seems cheap per gigabyte until you're hoarding terabytes of useless stuff. Old logs, backups, test data. Garbage, basically.
Data hoarding, easy to do.
And finally, those spiky workloads. They can be financial landmines. They trigger scaling, which costs money. They trigger retries, more costs. Downstream services get hit. It cascades.
Financial landmines. Okay, that paints a picture. So the book details the horror story, lists the painful lessons. Does it offer practical ways to avoid this mess?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
It's very focused on practical, maybe even ruthless countermeasures.
Ruthless sounds good when it comes to cost control. What's step 1?
Tagging. Tag everything. Every single resource needs a cost owner, a project ID, No exceptions. That's just basic visibility.
Non-negotiable, really. If you can't see who owns it or what it's for, how can you manage the cost?
You can't. Second, automate cleanup. Wiki scripts, the book suggests, to just nuke zombie resources, forgotten instances, unattached disks, idle load balancers.
Show no mercy to the zombies.
None. If it's not tagged and clearly active, it goes. Then actively manage logs. Cap them. Set retention policies. Monitor the ingestion rates.
Because, as the book says, financial errors are still errors. A huge spike in log ingestion might be your first clue that something's wrong, functionally or financially.
Exactly. And set budget alarms. Everywhere. Dev, staging, prod. Set tight limits and alerts. Think of them as tripwires.
Catch the spending before it falls off a cliff. Makes sense.
And maybe the most insightful tip. Simulate your worst-case costs before production. Assume your app is wildly successful. Assume it scales massively.
And then figure out what that costs.
Yeah. What does runaway success look like on the bill? If you haven't capped things or planned for it, success could actually bankrupt you.
Plan for the cost of success. That's actually really smart. Counterintuitive maybe, but smart.
It forces you to think about limits and controls from day one. The book even has this little painful anecdote.
Oh, to tell.
Someone paid $79 just to store 200 megabytes, not gigabytes, megabytes of test logs.
$79 for 200 megs. How?
Left them sitting there for 2 months because they forgot to set a retention policy. Just a tiny oversight.
Wow. That's...
Yeah.
Yeah, that really drives the point home about small things adding up. $79 for practically nothing.
A perfect, if painful, example.
Okay, so boiling it all down, the main takeaway from Fail Like a Pro on cloud costs is
That the cloud's power demands discipline. You absolutely need proactive, diligent cost management. If you neglect it.
it becomes that silent killer. It undermines everything without you even realizing it until that massive bill lands.
Precisely. And it's not a one-off task. It needs constant attention.
And the book frames it as responsibility, too. Being a great engineer today means understanding your cost footprint. It's not just about code anymore.
Absolutely. Ignoring costs is just, well, it's not professional in the cloud world.
So for you listening, maybe take a moment to think about this. Have you ever been hit by surprise cloud costs? Or maybe dealt with other unexpected infrastructure failures?
We'd genuinely be interested because sharing those stories, those failures, is how we all learn. That's the whole point of the book.
Right. Failure is the teacher, especially in the cloud.
And understanding the money side of failure. That's a big part of learning to fail like a pro. So maybe ask yourself, what are your potential silent killers lurking in your setup right now?
A very good question to ponder. Thanks for diving deep with us on this one.